Hello, everybody. Welcome to Generation Gap. My name is Gretchen Fabiani, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tom Galise.
And I'm Tom Galise, and I'm joined by my co-host, Gretchen Fabiani.
Today we're coming together in the month of July in 2025 to talk about a movie that's turning 50 this year. We're here to talk about Jaws.
Yes, it's the summer of Jaws again.
So Jaws came out in, I believe, June of 1975. June or July.
It was June, yeah.
June. Set around, actually, on July 4th weekend. So we're about a week late, but we thought it'd be a good time to come together and talk about the movie that invented the blockbuster.
Yeah.
So.
Really did. In fact, just to interject real quick, too, I was just reading about how mostly movies that came out in September, in the summer, were considered losers.
Yeah.
They're usually not big films because most people are on vacation. Very few people are going to theaters. And that was really the first movie that brought people in the summer.
1975 was a weird year for film, too, because up until then, like, the 70s were very much the time of the auteur. Like, the directors were Francis Ford Coppola. You had movies like The Godfather. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was big that year. They actually swept the Oscars big time.
Right.
Jaws was a little indie production, not indie exactly, but a little production by a very little known director named Steven Spielberg.
Right.
It was a production that went hilariously over budget, hilariously over time.
Right.
And is heralded as one of the cinematic classics of all time.
Yeah, and it did start the summer blockbusters, which are so common today.
Yeah, they did say, my dad was 5 years old when that came out, but in the years afterward, he said that it was considered the film that emptied the beaches and filled the theaters.
Oh, yeah. It's a great way of putting it, too, yeah. And I was 13 that year.
Okay.
And after that, just like they said, like, you didn't want to go in the water. You really did think twice about it, It's true.
A lot's changed since then. So my background comes from, I saw Jaws when I was about 13 or 14, I think. So I was coming onto Jaws from a past of, I grew up loving marine life. I read a whole lot of books, and my dad was into it when he was growing up. I was into it growing up. So what's wild to me is even from the years that I had been not studying, but like interested, versus when Jaws came out in 1975, we know so much more about sharks, especially great whites, now than we did then.
Yeah. In fact, Peter Benchley has since kind of like, well, not right now, but since the film, kind of regretted the attention he brought to the sharks.
It started a big
the negative
wave.
Attention.
Yeah, because I think it did start like a wave of shark hunting.
It did. It really did. Yeah. And he always regretted that, especially later when he found out, what sharks really were like. But what's crazy is when the shark attack happened in New Jersey. Do you remember the story that it was kind of based on the 1916 attacks? I was reading that, and even at the New York Museum of Natural History, which was like the authority on sharks, they said that sharks their jaws were not strong enough to actually, but again, they knew so little about sharks. They really had nobody studying sharks. No one had really ever examined a shark, so they were kind of a monster to a lot of people, you didn't know.
Just gonna briefly go over like just the basic plotline, what it's about. So Jaws is a story of a little town in Maine about to enter its tourist season, and while they're just about to get into the big swing of things, a girl turns up on the beach she's been killed by a shark. After this attack, the chief of police, Chief Brody, played by Roy Scheider, who is not from Maine.
Yeah, he's not a local.
He's a New York City guy. Is tasked with trying to not even get the shark, but keep the peace throughout.
Yeah, keep the tourism going. Really, is the thing. She kind of hush it up almost,
And as there are more shark attacks, Brody has to get over his fear of the water, his fear, and the obstructive bureaucracy of small town America.
The mayor has to get over his,
to bring in a couple of experts. One of which is Matt Hooper, played by Richard Dreyfuss, who is a marine biologist, I think.
Ichthyologist, but marine biologist.
And Quint, who is
never has a first name apparently.
No.
Yeah.
A really shark hunter, played by Robert Shaw.
Yeah.
And it's the whole rest of the movie is really let's get rid of this shark.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you saw Jaws?
Yeah, 13. I went with a couple friends, like I said, and we it was funny because it was probably one of the first films I went to without my parents.
Really?
Yeah, I was 13, and I went with my friends. They dropped us off, of course. And it was packed, and it was probably opening weekend, although I don't remember for sure. But I remember being annoyed. I told you, but one of my friends had his shirt over his face almost the entire film because he was so scared and so obviously scared. But he kept on every scene. He kept saying, "Oh, that looks fake. Oh, sharks don't really do that, do they?" Like he really wanted reassurance from me, and I just kept saying, "Shh, just be quiet. Just watch
the movie."
Yeah. And by the end of the film, his whole front of his shirt was soaked.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was funny. But I loved it. I did. Like I said, that summer, like I don't remember wanting to go swimming. A lot of my friends didn't want to go swimming. Everyone, it really did play with your head a little bit.
There's a lot of stuff that makes Jaws great. There's a lot of stuff that puts it in like, people's top 10. A lot of things that make it a classic in screenwriting courses. It's young Spielberg at some of his best and most hungry work.
I agree.
And it does some of the stuff that he does so well.
They sort of became hallmarks of Spielberg films.
There's a little bit of the dad stuff that Spielberg dabbles in a lot.
Right.
Which I think is handled pretty well. It's also not at the forefront.
Right, it's not right in your face.
You
know it better in retrospect.
Yeah, you notice it
at the time.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think Spielberg has always done well from the time he was a young director is he overlaps sound, especially voices, very well.
Conversations.
Yes.
I love that.
Every time I'm in a room in a Spielberg movie, I actually feel like I'm in the room with these people because people are talking over each other. They don't say stuff necessarily in a linear, this feels like a script way.
Right.
I've always loved that about his stuff. It makes everything feel so much more natural.
Also, some things that you don't even hear responses to. You'll hear snippets of conversation where you're almost like, oh, so what does she say back? And you never find out because it's really not meant for that.
It's an establishing. It's the chief's establishing scene with his wife when they come in from, they're getting up in the morning. He goes out to check on the kids in the yard, and he comes back in. It's establishing he's from New York. He's kind of impersonating a New England accent,
right? Which
while
is
they're
funny.
talking back and forth.
The car.
It's a very genuine human moment that immediately sets up that these people are not from around here and they know their position.
Such a great establishing shot. It really is.
Yeah, without necessarily going into like a whole bunch of joking.
And not even like obvious exposition. It just feels natural. Even his, like you said, his New England impersonation sounds like exactly like people from New York, or out of that area impersonating that.
There's a lot of really good performances in this film too, and that's like huge in this film because even though this is the original blockbuster and a big special effect movie, its big special effect famously didn't turn out so hot.
Right, it didn't. But you do care about the people.
You do.
I thought his Chief Brody's wife, Ellen, Lorraine Gary, I think plays her. I thought her acting was great in it. I just watched it again because I saw her in other films. I didn't think she was that good, but in this film, there's certain scenes where. Not to jump too far ahead, but even when she thinks that her son was maybe eaten by the shark, when she runs over, like I feel like her anguish. Like she sounds like she's like, he's dead. Like sometimes that's realistic because people don't say, is he dead? I know he's dead. He's dead.
Yeah.
And then when they show him being pulled out of the water, did you remember how the camera panned long enough to see his legs? Because we were like, oh, are his legs still there? And they were. Because you're worried. Like, is he okay? He is okay. Ooh, thank goodness.
There's my favorite scene actually with the parents specifically is the sequence after that incident where he's reading a shark book and while their son is out playing in the boat and the mom is at first telling him to like not be so hard on the son and everything, like let him
play in the water
even though it's shallow and everything, and then she sees what he's reading and then she goes into overprotective mode. It's such a good,
get out of that water, did you hear your father?
It's such a good parent moment.
It is. It's a great scene. And again, those are scenes that I don't even remember if they're in the book.
Don't have to be there.
But they're just small scenes, but they really say a lot, That was, and the little bits of humor in the film were great.
Go a long way.
Yeah, they really do.
Big sources of humor are, my personal favorite performance in this film is Richard Dreyfuss as Matt Hooper. I love Dreyfuss in everything I've seen him in. And I think he's really fresh and he's got an edge to him in this movie that I really like. And I don't see him have very much. I think this and Close Encounters, are the most like hard-edged I see him. And he's got like a sarcastic, sardonic.
Yeah, he pushes back on Quint.
He really does.
Good because you kind of want him to because Quint's really, really nudging him.
And he doesn't.
When he says like, "Hey, I don't need this, tough guy, nonsense, whatever."
He doesn't play up to the stereotype either. I think it would have been really easy to write Hooper in this film as a stereotype, as to differentiate him as being like this college boy who really doesn't know he's out of his depth.
Which is what Quint keeps saying.
And it's what he thinks.
But he doesn't give into it. No, and he doesn't give into it.
He does know what he's doing. And he knows he knows.
And he is right, a lot of the time.
And it's one of those things where, like, there's no sides to pick. There's nobody that's 100% right of the three, if you want to call them the three leads.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a point.
Right.
The shark is dangerous. It needs to be put away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, get rid of
right.
it because it is killing people.
Yeah. And Hooper has some great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And Chief Brody is also right when he says we should go back.
Yes.
We need a bigger boat, right?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Oh, yeah,
he was
that
right
line,
also.
yeah. I remember seeing this film get really popular again, actually during COVID. A lot of people were making jokes about, close the beaches.
Yeah.
The mayor is...
He's great also. He plays such a bad, you hate him.
It's a good performance, but...
Yeah.
And I get it, because there's that scene after the second shark attack on the beach where he pulls Chief Brody aside and says, my kids were in the water too.
Right, exactly. And he's like mumbling to himself earlier, right before that, he says that. He's like, he's like going over... Yeah, I got to do this. I got to get, I got to get. He's like, obviously, he's shocked.
What works about Jaws is it's not just a monster movie. It would have been really easy to just make it what later Jaws ripoffs became. You could have made this like an alligator or like one of those type things.
Right.
Even like what the Jaws sequels became.
Right.
But Jaws as a film is not only about shark eats man. It's also about the responsibilities that leadership has. What are they supposed to do to protect the people that they're under their control, and how people respond in a crisis.
Right.
You see a lot of people kind of break apart in different ways that you believe emotionally. It's not necessarily just hysterics. Right. It's also...
Well, it was even economics, really. And that was their lifeblood, was the summer tourism. And now what are we going to do? You almost understand... You don't agree with it, but you understand why they're trying to hush it up a little bit. Yeah. Until it becomes, obviously, way bigger than they thought.
I've spent a bunch of summers for like a couple of weeks in parts of New England. It feels very much it's New England.
Yeah.
And it's shot beautifully and things like that. Like you could talk about like the scenery, but specifically just like the influx of tourism that happens in the summer. People want to come up to the beaches.
Right.
People aren't usually coming inland when they're coming.
And they don't want to hear about a shark attack.
No, and it causes panic.
Yeah.
You're
right though, but it was so well done. It could have been just the shark is the monster. Monster films were big in the 70s also. But it was more of a human element, which really, again, it made you care about the characters. Even Lorraine, again, Chief Brody's wife, when they're saying goodbye, you feel it. Like, she's not even sure if she's going to see him again. Like, what do I tell the kids? And not even, like, if something happens to you, but what do I tell them? And he just says, tell them I'm going fishing.
Yep.
And you understand that. Like, yeah, what would a husband and wife, it was even, like, a little attempt at humor, which you kind of understand, like, he wants to make her feel safe, too, You really feel it. There's a lot of, again, that's Spielberg. He's good. I'm sure a lot of...
The human element.
Yeah, the human element,
Spielberg's very good at people.
Yeah, capturing that.
Very, very good at people. He always has been.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that he chose this project because we were discussing, actually, before we hit record, Jaws was a book before it was a motion picture. Right. And the book is not known for its likable characters.
No.
Everyone's awful.
I was just telling you earlier, I remember reading a review and it said that, like, I've never seen a book before where there's, like, no one to root for. There's no one likable.
Yeah.
Like, everyone, we talked about some of the differences. The fact that Brody's wife has an affair with Matt Hooper, the ichthyologist. I'm glad they didn't put that in.
I am too.
And it would have been completely unnecessary. And the fact that Brody in the book was not an outsider.
Yeah,
it made him likable. You could kind of relate to him. He kind of felt like he was trying to fit in and nobody was really accepting him. Which I think most people sort of feel a little sympathy for, Because he wasn't likable really at all or sympathetic in the book.
Yeah. I don't find Quint likable in the film.
It's funny. I don't know if he's meant to be likable, but there's something about him. Obviously, he kind of becomes an Ahab character from Moby Dick near the end, where you don't like him, especially when he smashes the machine and
there's traps him out there.
Yes, traps him. No way to communicate with anyone. That's his moment of insanity. But I kind of liked his character. I thought Robert Shaw played him so well.
He did. I would give him that.
And again, sort of just totally different character from everyone else, but something charming about him.
There's backstory to Quint. And it's a great performance by Robert Shaw. Yeah. He never endears himself to the point where I'm like, oh, I like this guy. But he endears me in a performance and I want to keep watching him.
Right, yeah. He's definitely watchable, for sure. Whether you like him or not, he's watchable.
My favorite scene in the film has nothing to do with the shark. My favorite sequence in the film is when all three guys are on the boat. It's probably like in the last half hour of the film. And they have that moment where they're comparing scars. And, it starts out joking, three guys just kind of posturing.
Right.
And, they're a little tipsy and, Matt Hooper is being, has a couple like good, funny little moments.
He does. It's a great scene.
And then Quint goes like stone cold
Yeah.
serious and talks about the Indianapolis incident,
Yeah.
which for those of you who don't know was actually a historical incident where
During World War II.
during World War II a ship was sunk. One of our naval ships was sunk, and
it was a delivery ship
and
dropping off the A-bomb.
Yep.
You know.
And a lot of the people who survived the ship sinking, a lot of people who waded in the water, were eaten by sharks. It was like the largest shark attack recorded in history.
I don't know if the numbers are exactly right in the movie.
I don't think it's quite
right. I wrote
right.
them down just because I was curious. He said 1,100 men went in, only 316 men came out. I don't know if that's exactly right or if they all were. It kind of is implied they were eaten by sharks. I don't know if they all were.
A bunch of them, I think. There was some drowning and some hypothermia.
Sure.
Right, but I didn't do as much research into that as I should have, admittedly. I did look up the incident after I saw the film. Yeah. I did want to mention, too, like, this is one of those films that is routinely brought up in, like, for re-release. People love seeing this one in theaters. This is a big theatrical one.
I saw it a few years ago at the theaters. Again,
really?
I took my kids. Yeah, it was re-released. Yeah, it was great. And I don't know why that year, because obviously this is the 50th anniversary. I don't even think that was the 25th because it was not that long ago.
We went, two of my best friends and I went to go see this at the drive-in. This is maybe 2 or 3 years ago. One of the drive-ins around here does it. It's opener for the season every year. They re-release Jaws. Yeah. And I will remember this forever. My best friend convinced her brothers to help her pack a couch into the back of her pickup truck. And we brought it up there. The couch was essentially functionally useless. The speakers were not working super great. I remember sitting there and trying to like use my wireless headphones to try to help like tune it in at the time. We ended up in the truck listening to it on the speakers, like on the radio, the way you're supposed to do it. And just the whole couch thing. Yeah. You had to see it. But it does hit differently on a big screen.
There's it does hold up. Again, my only regret, I mentioned this to you earlier, I kind of wish sometimes that maybe they had better effects at the time in 75. I've seen a lot of shark films since then, really because of Jaws, because I'm looking for the next Jaws, but I haven't found the next Jaws. But either the sharks look more realistic or they use scenes with real sharks. And there are some scenes, we've talked about it, where they did use a real shark.
In Jaws.
That was interesting. And that you can tell. But the scenes, especially when the shark jumps up on the ship, again,
you can tell.
When I saw it in 1975, my one friend just started to laugh and said, "Oh, come on, it looks so fake. Tell me that." I was like, "Just be quiet." But he was right. I mean, it did look fake. Yeah. And I really wanted it not to look fake. So sometimes less is more, I think, in those circumstances.
And Jaws is the example of less is more. The amount of time that the shark is actually on screen doesn't amount to a lot, but when it is there, usually you benefit the most from seeing the after effects. Yeah.
Or even at the moment, a fin.
Yeah.
The eye.
That
just
works.
A close up like that maybe would have worked.
There is some material used towards the end we were talking about when Richard Dreyfuss's character is sent down in the shark cage. There is shark footage that's used that they actually did.
Yeah, they actually was a husband and wife team who actually shot that, right? They were well known for that.
And that footage works. Even if it's cut together, you can tell it's not actually part of the movie. It is actually just shark footage. Yeah. But it works. The reason that Jaws works so well, even without the benefit of really good special effects, is the fact that they built up such a good suspense and such a good atmosphere and interesting characters and interesting story that you're willing to suspend it a little bit, even though the shark does look a little fake. Right. They found out pretty early in production that the shark animatronic wasn't working the way that they wanted it to, so they did what they could and built a movie around it that I think benefits from not having a shark scare every 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I agree.
There have been so many slasher films since Halloween and Friday the 13th where every once in a while they'll just throw in a kill every 15 to 20 minutes just to keep the audience interested.
Yeah, you can almost sit there and watch by it.
When you'd benefit so much more from just spending a little bit more time building up everything else so the audience cares when there is one.
Yeah, and some of the best horror films I've ever seen were 70s made-for-TV horror films where they just couldn't be that gratuitous or that bloody, and it was really kind of what you didn't see that really made you scared, because then you didn't know when you were going to see it. When you see it every 15 minutes, you almost expect it. When you didn't know when it was going to suddenly happen, it was more shocking.
You can set your watch by the Jaws one in a way, because it's one thing I did notice in the last watch through. They only play the theme when the shark attacks. Right. There's one brief scare in the movie that's it's a fake, right. And the music doesn't play for that one. Which is,
you don't have that anticipation.
Yeah, which
but that's something we got to mention too. Is the John Williams score was
John Williams
really great.
I believe this is the first John Williams,
First big film.
Steven Spielberg.
Oh, collaboration.
Collaboration.
Right, correct.
Yeah. And they've done so much work together.
Oh yeah.
Over the
almost
years.
every Spielberg film, except maybe The Color Purple. And...
I don't think he did. Because let's see, he did Close Encounters and E.T. and he did do 1941, which is I think Steven Spielberg's favorite John Williams score. Actually.
Wow. I'm gonna have to watch that again.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, I understand, but it's been so long since I saw it at the theater. I was the guy.
Oh.
who saw it at the theater when it came out.
I'm sorry.
And I didn't mind it, but I heard how it was panned, and I thought it was like, wow, I'm the first one to see this, this opening night, and it didn't do well at all.
No.
But some of the cast too, like John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd.
A lot of big.
Kind of want to see them again, just to see it, And
I will watch it, but it's one of those movies I have to stop every 20 minutes because I genuinely can't take any more of it.
Really, yeah. I don't know how I'll feel. I will have to check it out again though.
But the John Williams score is great. Not just the theme, but the incidental music is good too.
Yeah, it is,
Just he's always been good.
Amazing, yeah.
Really can't say enough about John Williams. I think is he retired?
I don't know if he's officially retired. I don't know. He
let
might
him
be.
rest.
I mean, he's old and he's
let him rest.
He's got more Oscars, I think, than anyone else.
Yeah.
I saw a video on YouTube, which was actually really interesting too, where some kids came outside of his house. Did you hear about this?
No,
they
I
started
didn't.
to play some scores.
Mm-hmm.
It was just two guys with, I think, brass instruments, and they started to play some
Really?
John Williams scores. And he actually came out and he thanked them, and it was really, really neat because you would think a guy like that would call the cops, get off my property, But it was kind of nice. Must have made their night,
I bet.
Yeah.
So Jaws actually did come home with a couple of big awards during the 75 Oscars. I did know. Did you do any research into the?
Not into the awards, no.
I know it's not. It doesn't necessarily mean much of anything.
Yeah. It wasn't Best Picture or Best Actor or Actress. None of that.
But
none of the big five.
It was a nominee.
For Best Picture.
For Best Picture. It did win Best Original Score and Best Film Editing.
Yeah, I figured that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think it also won Best Sound Mixing, which are the mini things that people don't care a ton about.
Yeah, they don't care about, but it's true. I mean, because it was, the sound was so effective in that, the music,
We've established, the shark didn't look that great, and that's whatever. But let's talk about do you think that this film is dated at all? That makes it actually difficult to watch to a modern audience?
Well, I'm an older guy, so I can't say that. But I like I said, I saw it on the big screen a couple of years ago, and I wasn't sure what to expect, honestly. Because I had also talked up to my kids who had seen it on television, but I said, oh yeah, on the big screen you're going to love it. And they did love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think it really lost much. Again, minor complaint, but I kind of wish they didn't show the shark maybe jump up on the ship at the end. Although that moment, it's sort of it's kind of the climax.
I get why it's there. I just don't think it...
Yeah, I kind of wish they could somehow go back, maybe even with computer imaging and make it look a little better. I don't know. But... still effective. I mean, because you care about these characters, whether you like them or not, you kind of care about them.
You do.
Even Quinn, and so I don't know. I think it still does well with modern audiences. I don't really hear too many people complain about it.
Not a whole lot. Things have changed since the 70s. Obviously, right. I don't think enough has changed societally that we can't still connect to these people.
Yeah.
Even though some of the technology's changed, maybe some of the things that they do and say is different. Even the way that the town is run is different.
Right.
And obviously we have sonar equipment. Catching a shark would be so much easier now than it is back then.
Right.
But I think that it doesn't lose anything in translation, even though it's been 50 years, which is a big deal.
Kind of hard to believe sometimes.
Yeah, I know. It's been a long time. But I think too, one of the things that makes a really good movie, and a movie stand the test of time. Last time we talked about Casablanca, which is older than Jaws by quite a bit.
Right.
And the human element of these films, these performances, transcends time. People connect to people.
They do, yeah. And I think every performance in that film rings true.
Yeah.
Even the people you don't like, even the kids. I was looking at some of the kids acting. The kids are really good.
Kids
the
are
little
good.
boy's crying on the beach. Your heart breaks for him.
It feels very much like this is a families that you've seen. Like I've seen these people at the beach. I know these people.
Right, right.
There's some little stuff too that is a really big deal. Like we talked about Alex Kinter, which in the original screenplay, back when they thought they had a fully functional shark, that was way more disturbing. Have you seen that still image?
No.
There is a messed up image of that shark coming up out of the water eating that kid, and I remember seeing that image and going, "Jeepers!" I'm kind of glad that didn't work. I think that would have traumatized a lot more kids.
That might have, yeah. It was early on, and they still got to sit through the rest of the film.
Yeah. Do you think this movie earned a PG, or do you think it should have been an R?
Oh, that's another thing. You know, I saw another movie recently too that was PG. So I don't know how strict they were with the PGs until PG-13 came around.
Like they just it was really the Wild West. Because
like I said, I went to see it. I didn't have parents with me. I saw it with a couple other 13-year-old kids, and in a way, I don't know. I loved it. I didn't feel traumatized by it.
That's
well, I didn't really want to go swimming that much that summer, but I don't know. I almost wish they didn't, with the PG-13 or restrict it. It probably would earn an R rating now.
Maybe. I don't know if it would.
Not for profanity, because profanity is very mild in it. Which again shows you can get away with it without doing that.
The gore's not bad.
It wasn't over the top.
There's one, like, the shot of the guy's leg going to the bottom of that shallow pool may have gotten it, and the 10-foot spray of blood from the beach scene.
I think that same scene, right?
That shocked me. I watched that when we went to rewatch that when we were gonna do this. I remember watching it with Dad, and that huge spray of blood from a child.
Yeah.
Like, that's a kid's death.
Almost makes you think, like, did they have
I looked at my dad.
A new device to do that they just wanted to use? Like, we got to use that.
I don't know. I looked at my dad and I was like, I cannot believe I got a PG. And he goes, they did whatever back then.
Yeah.
I do think the rating system is broken. I think PG-13 is also broken.
Yeah.
I think they tried to fix it.
That was, supposed to be a solution.
And I don't think it worked.
No.
I think there's stuff now that I see rated PG-13 that I think is, like, hilarious. Like, that's a G rated.
Yeah.
There are stuff that I saw from the 70s and 80s that I saw was PG, and I went, I wouldn't show this to anyone under the age of 18.
I wish I could think of the movie I saw recently that was PG, and I was shocked. And I think I even read somewhere that it was PG, so I did watch it again, and I was like, wow, but there was no PG-13. So
I want to say
guidance suggested, but not enforced. I want
to say 16 Candles was the last one I saw where I went, I can't believe we let that slide.
Yeah.
But lost my train of thought there.
Kind of a shame.
Yeah. There's some elements of Jaws that I do think hold up well on a directorial, just basic, here's how it looks. The opener where it's the whole thing underwater, you mentioned how much of the film was shot at water level.
Yeah, 25%. Yeah, was shot at eye level. Again, it added to the element that you're there.
And that dolly shot we were talking about, the vertigo shot of Chief Brody on the beach.
Yeah, the way it pans, if you've seen the film, the way it just keeps coming a little closer each time.
It's a very memorable shot.
It is, yeah.
And
for some reason it works. It works because you feel like...
It does work.
You feel like you see his shock and you feel it, you really do.
There's some really simple camera tricks that have been used by directors over the years to convey a very simple human emotion.
Yeah.
That's one of the tricks.
Some don't work. It's funny. I might have mentioned this to you. There's one in The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock who really pioneered a lot of this stuff.
Right.
Where it shows Tippi Hedren at the first bird attack that she's part of, and it shows her head looking one way, and then it cuts away, and then it shows her head looking another way, and then it cuts away, and then it cuts back, and she's looking another way. Like, I know what he was going for.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I don't know.
The editors
closing in on one face, like Spielberg did in Jaws, I think is better.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a little, almost took you out of that moment. Yeah.
Do you think there's a standout performance in this film, like somebody that should have really got extra attention?
I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm a little surprised that I know you didn't really care for the character as much, but I'm surprised Robert Shaw didn't get nominated.
Really?
I did think his acting was very realistic. I don't think he cared whether people liked him or not, which is kind of true to his character.
Yeah.
He was kind of mean to everybody. He didn't seem to really care at all. I like that he kept calling Roy Scheider Chiefy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was sort of belittling in a way.
Yeah, he does really come across like he does think everyone else in the room is a little knows less than he does.
Yeah, exactly. But it fits that character. Like that, it kind of had to be that way. He didn't really want anyone with him. He says that.
Yeah.
I think maybe I should go alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed it. I loved his. But all of them were good. Like Roy Scheider, I really hadn't seen him in much before that. I don't even think he did too much, but maybe 7 Up. I'm not even sure if that came out before or after.
He was in 1984, the year we made contact, I think. Or the sequel to 2001. Yeah, that's the only other thing I've seen him in.
Oh, I've seen him in, I think it was Still of the Night. It was like a thriller. He was good in that. He's a good actor. 52 Pickup, he was also good in. I've seen him in other things, but not really before that. Again, I'm not sure on. I think. The French Connection. Of course, he was in that in '71. He played Gene Hackman's partner. He was good in that. Not a major part. And then I think the 7-Ups was kind of a continuation of the French Connection. For those who don't know, I think he played the same character actually. But that might have been delayed and released after Jaws. I'd have to check. I'm not sure when that was, but I also saw him in that. But no role was as impactful as Chief Brody. Mm-hmm. I thought he played that really well.
I do too.
Yeah. So he could have been, and of course Richard Dreyfuss is like a consummate actor.
He's my favorite.
He's good at everything.
He's my favorite in this one.
Well, he added that element that no one else really did, which was the kind of the humorous, and almost relatable.
Yeah.
He seemed the most relatable.
He's like I said, I did say earlier, like he's kind of got an edge to him. He comes into this so cocksure, which is so fun.
Oh, right away. As soon as he gets into town, he's telling everyone else they're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah, it's such an establishing moment when he comes on. He's looking for the chief, and he's getting busted on by a whole bunch of guys all overloading his ship. Yeah, and he turns away laughing. Yeah, they're all gonna die. He's so on his own page, and he and Quint both think that they have the right way to do this. Right. It's two schools of thought.
It is, and it's kind of a generation gap.
It is a little bit.
Quint's definitely the older school of thought.
Mm-hmm.
Or even his tools show it. Like I said, the tool difference I thought was amazing.
Part of it too is locationally, like. Quint, I think, comes across as very much like old school.
Yeah, and a local.
Old New England.
Right, yeah.
And
Shark hunter all of his life.
Yeah, and then like Navy. And then this up-and-comer Matt from...
Trying to tell him his business. He even says at one point, don't tell me my business, because, you're fresh out of school. Your hands, remember he checks his hands?
Hands are soft.
Yeah, your hands are soft, counting money,
Mm-hmm. And I work in a field where... I work with a lot of people who are blue collar, and I've taken my fair share of ribs about being on the white collar side. Right. And I even know like what it's like to be on the younger end of a profession that's been around for a long time.
Right,
and
do, yeah.
Even though I don't feel, I'm not going to sit here and say like I feel Matt Hooper's pain. I do understand. Like it's interesting to see that layer of friction in that's playing out, and it's a minor thing. They don't focus on it. They don't linger
minor,
on
but the scenes that it's displayed are really key. They're great scenes. It really establishes their characters too. Otherwise, you might not even know.
Mm-hmm. And it's helped too by the fact that, and we discussed too before we started recording, Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw were not particularly. They were not on good terms.
And I do think that added to the realism of the scenes. Yeah, you do.
And
it may even have been similar. I think Robert Shaw was also, not a blue collar actor, but an older actor who may have not. Richard Dreyfuss was kind of an up and comer. Mm-hmm. He may have resented that. Felt like he didn't go through his paces.
Different kind of stuff too. I did some research, and Robert Shaw was a stage guy. Right. He did a lot of Shakespeare.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And
but you wouldn't tell from his Quint performance, which again is why I think it was such a good performance.
Yeah, the only thing that I can really say, like you can really feel like, oh, this guy is really experienced, like in terms of acting, was when he does the Indianapolis monologue. Yeah. He really nails that, like theatrical.
And I don't know if you heard that either. It's an interesting little tidbit about that. Was that first time he did it, he actually thought it would be better if he had been drinking beforehand, but apparently the performance was terrible.
I didn't hear that.
And so Spielberg was kind of upset with him. For getting drunk to do the scene. And he said, you know what, just give me another chance tomorrow. And they said, that's the scene you see in the film. And he nailed it, they said. And he did. I watched it again recently. It's just like, every word. Like, you can almost feel his pain. Some of it's almost a little disjointed when he explains certain things. Yeah. Like, he kind of rambles a bit. And you could see, too, that he's kind of reliving it, and which is how I think you would. It wouldn't be such a linear tale.
No. It's another small moment, but it's one of my another favorite scene in the movie is it's early, and it's some of Spielberg's dad stuff, where he's at the table with his younger son. There are no words.
I love that. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, there are no words in that conversation, but
and everything that
he's mimicking him.
Yeah, exactly. And everything that Roy Scheider does, the son is mimicking. He doesn't even see it at first, and then when he sees it, it's a typical dad reaction. He kind of he makes a mean face, kind of enjoys it, plays along with it. Yeah.
It's
I love that moment.
It's quiet.
Very quiet.
There's no dialogue up until I think the mom comes in and then they start a little bit, but that's 2 minutes of just quiet humanity in this movie. And
so realistic again too, because I'm picturing it now as you say it, and just the fact that he seems so concerned, so deep in thought, so lost, and a child brings him out of that, as children can.
And it's your child,
right?
I'm close with my dad, and I'm really lucky to have a dad that I am close with.
Yeah.
And my dad can get lost in thought, can get lost in like books or like he's an intellectual kind.
Right.
But if I have something that I need his attention for, Dad will drop it, and that's just kind of. It's nice to see that play out, especially when Spielberg's work is so fraught with bad father relationships.
Right,
Even like his next big one, Close Encounters, is a terrible father.
Right.
I do
another great performance by Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah. Who I could talk about for about 20 minutes straight because I genuinely really like his work.
Yeah.
We talked. What genre? Do you think the genre actually does fit? Do you think it's just straight horror? Do you think horror?
You know, I'm a real horror fan, and I was always since I was a really young age. Some people think my parents were a little remiss in the fact that I watched so much horror, and I bought horror magazines. I'd get paid $1 allowance, and I'd go buy horror magazines, and the more graphic the cover.
Like Fangoria? Did you do
not even Fangoria. That wasn't around when I was a kid.
Oh.
But there were things called like Weird Tales, or there was Creepy and Eerie magazines. But the worse they were, and a lot of titles I don't even remember. But the more they showed blood and guts, I mean, and they did. There were pictures where like a woman would be hanging on a hook, with guts spilling out. I'd come home with those, and I'm telling you honestly, I was probably not even 10 years old yet. And I loved them. I read the stories, but I would, and I obviously I didn't grow up to become a serial killer, so I don't agree with the idea that that's it's going to damage your mind. But I would be fascinated, like wow, like it. And they were kind of well written stories. A lot of them are similar to plots I've seen in movies since. And I wonder how many of these screenwriters also read these same magazines. So to me, horror was much different. To me, horror included monsters usually, and I could see certain animals could be monsters. We know sharks really aren't monsters. Any attacks on humans are probably incidental or even mistaken.
Yeah, they don't like humans.
Yeah,
I don't think.
It's not part of their diet.
No.
So I don't know. I think thriller probably fits better. I don't know. I don't really like the horror. But it's funny because some of these movies that have been nominated for Academy Awards in the horror sense, like even Silence of the Lambs. I don't know. Psychological, maybe.
I can see that being
maybe.
like a psychological. Silence of the Lambs freaks me out, but
yeah.
Jaws, I remember and I've seen it a bunch of times. It's not something I've only seen like 2 or 3 times.
Right.
I come back to Jaws,
and
I never feel like, oh, this is a horror. I'm not on the edge of my seat. I'm just kind of watching.
Yeah. It's almost like a nature documentary, So you wouldn't call that horror.
Kinda.
But like, there's a movie Grizzly with and I don't. That's probably also considered a horror, but I don't consider that a horror.
So I think Jaws is among a whole bunch of a string of films in the set that really got kicked off in the 70s. The natural horror style.
There were a lot in the 70s. I wrote a whole list of some like movies that you probably never even heard of.
Orca.
Well, Orca's another one. Yeah, very similar to Jaws. Yeah, Richard Harris and Bo Derek. Frogs. Yep. That's another one. But there were so many. Squirm.
Ew,
worms. I mean, just it was. I wish I could think of some more off the top of my head.
Grizzly was one you mentioned.
Grizzly, of course. Yeah.
Alligator is my favorite of the ripoffs.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
I think is that Joe Dante?
Willard, Ben. I mean, they kind of same thing. Animal themed.
That died off pretty quick. I think the natural horror genre.
Yeah, it was
that
really a
died
thing
off
of the 70s.
Quick.
Yeah, and because they pretty much covered. There was Night of the Lepus, which was about rabbits.
I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, that's really scraping the bottom when you got rabbits as monsters.
I don't know. I've known a couple pretty nasty rabbits.
Yeah, it's true, right? Yeah, but yeah, that did kind of die off, but that was definitely a thing in the 70s. A real period there where there was so many.
And Jaws is the only one that I think was successful.
That really holds up.
Piranha,
Piranha's another one. Yeah, it was also James Cameron, I think. The first one.
I thought that was Joe Dante.
Maybe, but the second one I'm pretty sure was James Cameron, or I'd have to check. But
I'd have to double check too.
I'll mention that on the next episode.
We'll see.
I'll double check.
Do some research.
Yeah, because it's kind of surprising that it wasn't even Piranha 1. I think it's Piranha 2.
Oof.
Which you're like, wow, that's where you got to start.
Did you see any of the Jaws sequels?
I did. In fact, I pretty much saw all of them.
Ooh.
And regretted each one. Yeah. Jaws 2, obviously in order. Jaws 2 wasn't the worst.
It's kind of like the Superman movies.
Because that's kind of, exactly. Not going to ever be, obviously the shock is gone and all that. And Roy Scheider's in it again.
Yeah, he is.
And I don't know. But you can see already, it lost some of the, obviously it was new. The original was new. So the second was kind of a rehash. And then 3 was in 3D. That was terrible. I saw it at the movie theater.
The 3D phase.
Yeah, and then Jaws 4 was that the Revenge? I don't even remember now.
Yes, it
But that
was.
also,
I know
that was horrible.
I know the cover of Jaws 4 so well. I can see that. I can picture that cover so clearly.
Oh, that's funny.
And I can't bring myself to watch it. The cover sticks out because it is such. I remember what it looks like so clearly. The first one and the fourth one, the only ones I remember.
Really, I don't remember the fourth cover.
It's I could be wrong, but I think it's the shark is coming up like perpendicular out of the water, like, and I just remember thinking that's not how that works.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. It's not
I
correct.
saw it and I don't remember the cover. And I barely remember the film because it was really bad, and it had
terrible.
Michael Caine in it.
Really?
Yeah, he was slumming then for a little while there in the 70s.
I don't think he got big yet for.
He is big in some other things because he did obviously Alfie in the 60s.
Oh, that's right. That's
but
right.
he had a down period there too. But he was also doing well, he got an Academy Award shortly after that too. So that was just a slumming period. I think there was a time it was kind of a Hollywood joke where like you just offer Michael Caine a script and he'll do the film.
Okay.
He was taking pretty much anything they offered.
Gotcha.
Maybe for the money. I'm not sure. I don't know his motivations, but it certainly wasn't for the quality or the writing.
I don't think he'll ever top the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Right. Well, there you
That's
go.
his best, obviously.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
Just for those who don't know.
For those who don't know,
But he's also a really good actor.
He is
in other things.
in the right project.
Right. Yeah.
Which can be said about so many people.
Oh yeah. And maybe it's really the writing too. Like, so maybe it's less the actor. So you get some good directors and some good writing.
It can really
pretty
save
much
it.
anyone can be good. Not to get too sidetracked, but I've seen some films where children
Oh my
are
gosh.
so good. Like just incredible. I'm just like
Stand By Me.
Yeah. Trying scenes, dramatic, and they're like, I don't know. It kind of diminishes to me like the respect that so many actors get, and I think it might have even been Katharine Hepburn who kind of said like, what I do is like child's play, like children do it. It's not like we probably don't deserve all the attention we get or the respect we get because it really is, and that's another reason why they don't allow children under a certain age to be nominated for lead actors because I think they would dominate it because their performances are really very real.
And Spielberg was really good at that too. Tying it all back. We aren't covering it right now, but E.T. is actually this is potentially sacrilege. E.T. might be my favorite Spielberg film.
Really?
And that movie is dominated by children.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
the adults are sort of like
they're
background side characters.
They're important in the way that they're important to children.
Right. Only how they push the plot forward for the kids too. Yeah.
But I think everyone does have like memories, or the vast majority of us have memories of childhood, and the emotions that we feel as kids feel so much bigger.
Yeah.
That's why so many kids like the movies.
Yeah. Stand By Me just mentions another great one.
Yeah.
And I used to go on adventures, never looking for a dead body necessarily, but Ray Brower, I think was his name. But I used to go on lots of adventures like that with my friends. We had free reign in the 70s. Kids, I had the woods across the street from my house, and so I really related to that film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really did, and that also was, especially the book, was very powerful. The book, it was just a short story called The Body.
I read that actually.
Book. Yeah, but powerful.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite? And I've talked about my two favorite scenes from Jaws, neither of which had the shark. Do you have a favorite scene?
Favorite scene? Let's see. I did make some notes. Well, again, that scene you talked about where they're comparing their scars, and their battle wounds and battle scars, whatever. I just love that scene, and one of my favorite parts was how it starts off with I think Robert Shaw mentions a scar that wasn't even from. I think it was maybe arm wrestling or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't even fish related. And then Richard Dreyfuss brings up, I think it was a thrasher. I forget what.
Thresher shark.
Yeah, some other animal, aquatic. And then it starts to be more comparisons of that. And of course, that scene ends with him like opening up his shirt, and he says, "Right there, Mary Ellen Moffat broke my heart."
I laugh at that.
And then he starts to crack up, and and everyone starts to laugh because his laugh is so contagious, and because it's such a
human laugh.
It is, and it's also because it was kind of tense talking about these battle scars, and he threw that in there. And if you ever notice, which I love, is at that moment too, as they're all cracking up, Roy Scheider glances down and lifts up his shirt, and it looks like maybe he had an appendicitis scar. Did you ever catch that?
I did actually.
And he looks so disappointed. He looks away,
funny.
almost like embarrassed or disgusted. Like this is all I got. I just thought, and because you almost sense there's impending doom, and you don't know which character. The first time you see it, you don't know which one's going to be gone, and the sharks. It's not over, right? They're having this great live, fun moment, and something bad's going to happen. And it does, right immediately after that.
It does, actually.
And so I think that was a great idea, too, to sort of build up the audience kind of laughing along, and then suddenly, oh my God, the shark's back.
Yeah. I lied, by the way. It was a moray eel, not a thresher shark.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, I forgot. I know there was a couple they were talking about, yeah.
I do think that's like such a good character building moment and such a good calm before the storm. That sequence where they first encounter the shark, like the "you're gonna need a bigger boat," or I think it's "we're gonna need a bigger boat."
It's "you're gonna need a bigger boat."
Oh, is it yours?
It's always misquoted as "we're gonna," but he's really telling Quint, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." Yeah.
And I mean that's funny. That's a little bit of like humor in a very tense.
It is, and I heard it was ad-libbed. I don't know if that's true, but
really?
They do say it was ad-libbed by Roy Scheider. Yeah.
But that bit where they're watching the buoys and the barrels on top, you really get a sense for like this is not your average shark when Quint says he can't go down with 2 barrels. Not with 2 barrels he can't, and he does.
Right. Yeah.
It is a good tension builder moment.
It definitely was. Great idea.
Yeah.
And then he takes, I don't know how many he had total. He had 5 originally. I don't know if he took all 5 down at the end.
I don't remember.
Remember at the end, like all the barrels go down.
I really enjoy watching that for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is like a little anecdote. So I grew up growing up with Scooby-Doo and the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I don't know if I have. But I love Scooby-Doo.
It's a kid's film because it's a Scooby-Doo movie. Yeah. There is an entire sequence where they're going after like what they think is the Loch Ness Monster. The whole scene is an homage to that sequence in Jaws. Like, and watching it play by play to the point where when I watched Jaws, I was sitting there going, wait a minute, I've seen this before. Where have I seen this?
Yeah.
And then when next we watched Scooby-Doo and the Loch Ness Monster, I went, they stole this from Jaws. They ripped it right off.
Wow.
The whole thing. It's funny.
Yeah.
And it works, but
it's kind of clever, right?
It's definitely there for the parents.
That's funny.
But it is a good tension builder, and I also really enjoy Matt Hooper trying to get Chief Brody out onto the front of the ship so he can get a scale picture.
The acting there is fantastic. Because the way Roy Scheider, what's so funny? I just watched it recently. The way he says, "What? No, what?" He says "what" twice, and I'm like, he's deliberately saying "what" because he doesn't want to go.
Yeah, and he's Chief Brody,
because he was trying to get that shot with the shark. Yeah,
the scale picture.
The scale, yeah.
Chief Brody, I think, works so well as a protagonist of this film because Quint is coming from an area of experience.
Right.
So's Hooper.
Right.
Chief Brody's out of his depth in every single way.
And he says it. And speaking of that, I just want to mention real quick. One of my favorite parts too is the fact that in their preparation for going out shark hunting, you can see the difference again in their experience and in their characters. Because Quint, he has the ship, obviously, whatever the ship has, including, the hook that he's using. He's used the barrels, obviously. He's got a rifle. He's got that knife that he stands in, And then Hooper comes out, and he's got, I even wrote it down, he's got, like, the drugs that he wants to try to inject into the shark's mouth. Something, obviously, Quint would never think of.
Right.
He's got a temperature gauge. Like, what? He's got whatever this means, an SMG. I don't even know what that is, but he mentions it. He's got mile markers, a spear gun, the shark cage, obviously. And then when you see Chief, and I love this. This is one of my favorite scenes also because it's just such a quick little scene. But as Chief's getting on, his wife's coming out, and she's like, "Do you have your Dramamine and your zinc oxide for your nose?" Like she doesn't want to get a nose. He doesn't want to get a sunburn. They're going out to hunt the shark. And then she says, also Blistex. Your black socks and an extra pair of glasses.
It's really funny.
Like, isn't it? That's the comparison between the three leads. It's so funny, I thought.
And then the way that Brody takes the shark out at the end is none of the above.
Right, nothing. Right, it's just, he's a cop again,
or a combination thereof. Right, yeah, and it's an act of desperation. Like this isn't an act of.
Yeah, he's about to be eaten.
Yeah, it's I'm either gonna drown or get eaten, or I take this shark out. And so the way that he actually does, spoilers for a 50-year-old movie.
Yeah.
He takes.
It's always funny when we discuss films. And you have to say like spoilers. If you haven't seen it yet.
I can't believe people haven't seen Jaws, but I know someone out there hasn't. At this point, at the very end of the film, Quint has been eaten. The ship is sinking. Right. Brody thinks Matt's dead.
Right.
At this point.
So does the audience at that point.
Yeah, the audience also believes.
Oh no!
We do see him swim away. We do see him swim away.
Right.
So we know he's alive at least, or at least was.
Right.
The ship is going down, and as the ship is going down, he's up on
the mast,
also coming perpendicular to the water.
Under.
The shark has a big barrel of that explosive, in his mouth.
Yeah.
And
Canister.
the chief is leveling a shot at it. It's really he fires off a couple. It doesn't work.
He makes you wonder, like, how good of a cop is this guy? Right? He misses every shot.
The stormtroopers.
Yeah, right.
But he fires off that one last shot, and the whole shark blows up.
And even that last shot of the shark kind of, sinking.
Yeah,
it's very real with the blood flowing out of it. The bits around it. That was also very realistic looking.
And
even his reaction when he's like,
yeah, he loses it. Yeah.
It's very realistic.
He thought he was gonna die.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Two, like the audience knows he can't swim.
Right.
He's terrified of the water.
Right.
He's a New York City cop who is for some reason in a coastal town in Maine.
Right.
And the whole film spends a lot of time kind of really like reminding the audience of that. Like, this guy does not like the water.
Right.
This is not where he belongs.
Right.
And then he ends the
Even
last...
that scene, especially when you just mentioned, when he's like going out for the scale, and he doesn't want to go out, not just because the shark's there, but he doesn't obviously feel safe on water.
There are multiple times where you watch like the ease in which that the other characters navigate their way around the beach, around the
edges of the ship, even.
Yeah.
They also show that, you know, like not panicking at all.
Brody's not comfortable.
No.
And Roy Scheider does a great job at showing that he's not comfortable.
He does, yeah. A lot of really good acting for a monster film,
and it's minute stuff.
Yeah,
they don't go a whole lot into it.
Yeah.
But again, that's why I think this film is such a big deal. Like a lot of the big like horror thriller films, however you want to look at it. I briefly mentioned like the Vertigo shot. Like that's another example of a movie where it's carried on the shoulders of the characters, not what's happening necessarily.
Right.
Which obviously like the plot has a huge part of it. But I say this for every horror movie: if I don't care about these people, I don't care what happens.
Well, think about it. We've been mentioning all night Quint, Brody, Hooper.
There's not much to talk about.
Matt
with the shark.
Hooper. Who are the characters that got killed in Friday the 13th?
Kevin Bacon.
Well, the characters.
Yeah.
No, the characters. I mean, not the actors. The characters. I don't know any of the characters'
No.
names. I couldn't care less. Any of the Michael Halloween films. Name me any of the characters that died. Right? You don't know. Like even choose the first films because maybe I might not be able to name the sequels to Jaws, the victims. But Jaws is unique in the fact that you really know, I know all their names. Most people do. Most other horror films, when people die, it's like, oh, that guy died too.
Jaws and Alien, I think, are the two ones where
Alien's another great example. You're right.
I know everybody.
You know all the characters, by name. Because whatever reason, you kind of related or they built it up a little bit where you get to know them. I mean, most horror films, it really is just, they're all
through the bodies.
Yeah, they're all just chum, They really are to relate to Jaws.
Yeah. I do think it's one of those perfect storm movies. It came at a perfect time.
Yeah.
This is what kicked off the era of... we are going to talk about Spielberg, I think, a lot in the coming months. Yeah. He's one of my favorite directors. And I think that this really kicked off the blockbuster generation.
For sure. And summer films.
Yeah.
And what's a better summer film than, Jaws, something where you're in the ocean,
Also, it kicked off the era of the movie brat director, which I think is something that's really interesting to look at. How directors that were coming up in the 70s, guys like Spielberg, guys like Lucas, Joe Dante, who I've name dropped a couple of times, and James Cameron, someone else that we talked about briefly. Right. These are guys that grew up watching movies. They loved movies. Right. What they're producing now is a regurgitation of the things that they loved with their new stuff added.
Right.
So Jaws may not be original in its basic premise, even though I think it is there's a lot that we've seen it copied later. But basic film language is something that these guys have been studying their whole lives. They've been watching it.
Yeah,
so I think it's
they're craftsmen.
So interesting to watch the origins of
and their fans,
the language.
Which also comes through. They're not just directors or filmmakers. They're really fans.
They love what they're doing. Yeah,
they do. You can tell.
Spielberg's first 5 or 6 movies are his big stuff, like Jaws through Raiders. I would say are his big. His love letters to film. Yeah. He just loves making movies.
Yes, and they're all sort of related to other films. Obviously Raiders in particular.
But Close Encounters is also a throwback.
All those sci-fi films in the 50s.
He loves what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that energy that's crackling on the set of Jaws that you can feel as an audience member.
It translates.
It translates. This director is young and hungry. So are these actors.
Right.
Everyone who's involved in this movie is giving it 100% enough to bring it together in a way that even the stuff that doesn't work works enough that you forgive it.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
And there's, like I said, it's a perfect storm. It's one of those movies that it changed a lot.
It really did. Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, the whole blockbuster. Really, we mentioned it a couple times, but it's really it's impressive. You know, before that there really wasn't. Like I said, summer was the time when most people were not going to the movie theater.
It was also like, and I mentioned early, I think, like the films that were big were like the character pieces. The 70s was The Godfather. It was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right.
It was The French Connection you mentioned.
Right.
All really, really good films.
Right.
Jaws kicked off the crowd pleasers, like the
Yeah.
movies that people went to go see that were just, I don't want to say dumb fun because that's offensive. That's really insulting to
Yeah.
the movies that aren't.
Well, they just wanted to see a movie.
Wide
you know?
appeal.
Yeah, yeah.
Wide appeal, and
Yeah.
that's something Spielberg's always been good at. Is
Right.
what do people want to see?
Right, right.
And Jaws happened to be it
Yeah,
in
it really was
1975.
in a big way. Yeah.
Do you know how long it was in theaters?
I don't know. I never really looked into that.
I don't either. I know like back in the day, and I think like E.T. played for like almost a year. I forget how long Jaws played.
It's an interesting question, actually. I'm kind of curious now.
And especially with how many times it gets re-released. I wonder if it's got a record for like most time in theaters overall. I would wonder.
Well, certainly at that time, I would think, yeah.
I would think so. But it's a one of a kind, even though it's been done many times since then. Deep Blue Sea, The Shallows, 47 Meters down. It all borrows from
47 meters
Jaws.
you mentioned, yeah. And I want them so bad to be the next Jaws. I really do. Because, I mean, you know, I'm older now. That movie's 50 years old this summer. And, you know, you want to find the next Jaws, you know, for the next generation even. But there's just really nothing.
I don't think we will.
I don't think we will.
I think enough has changed.
It's of its time, I think, and that's it.
And I think Jaws was scary to a generation of people who didn't know a ton about sharks.
Right.
And who the thought of shark attack was, like, terrifying and, like, I don't want to say novel because that sounds terrible. But...
No, but it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, yeah. It hadn't really been done on screen.
You didn't think about it
It's
at the
kind of
time.
like Night of the Living Dead, you know, at that time. Like, zombie movies are a dime a dozen now, but that was unique for its time. The idea, I mean, there were zombie films in the 50s, but they were slow moving, definitely different, yeah. Those zombies were suddenly, you know,
a threat.
A threat, yeah, a real threat, yeah. Eating people. I don't think the zombies in the 50s ate anyone, you know, they were just slow, slavish, you know.
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna find another Jaws in the same vein. I think that there are films that are kind of like, I think the closest thing we have to a Jaws of our generation is Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
from
that's
the
true,
90s.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. If you're gonna go
Another
natural,
great film.
another great film, another
Yeah,
Spielberg, another John Williams.
Right.
But if you're gonna go for something that's gonna terrify a new audience, like a whole generation of people, the way that Jaws terrified, you need to find something that we're afraid of.
Yeah.
So like economic
So it
collapse
won't
or something.
be Squirm with the worms.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be even, you know.
No.
If you come up with that, you'd probably have a hit film on your hands.
We've done the movie industry has done a lot of growing very quickly since Jaws. I think it's going to be challenging. We're seeing it now. It's hard for people.
And people
to
are
find.
jaded, you know.
They are.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to find new ideas now. People don't want to. They want to just make. I'm going to have a lot of opinions about intellectual property.
Yeah.
And brand names, things like that.
Yeah. But they do, and a lot of it is just a repeat. You know, what worked? Let's do that again. You know, and sometimes it's very lazy.
I do think that we need to find. That was Deep Blue Sea's problem, in my opinion.
Right.
We do need to find. My challenge to every young director on the way up is I want to see you do something different. Do something that I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Even
we've talked about it a little bit. I gave credit to M. Night Shyamalan for just doing something a little different. You know, he wrote some, you know, hit or miss, obviously. But I gave him the benefit of the doubt each time because I thought, well, you know what? He's coming up with something a little different. He's trying. How many more films can you see that are just rehashes of older films?
the stuff that made Spielberg great, the stuff that made people that he emulated great, was when they did something different. Obviously, like, they borrowed from things that they knew, from things that they liked growing up. You know, we talked about Raiders of the Lost Ark. He liked those types of serials.
Yeah.
But it's not just Spielberg does a serial, or Spielberg does a shark movie. It's what can we do that's different? What can we do that's new?
What can we bring to it?
Yeah, and everyone's got, I think creative people have the ability to do something different. And, you know, Jaws was a perfect storm of people at the time hadn't seen this before. And these people are all bringing to the table. I'd like to see that again.
Yeah, I would too, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
We'll keep watching.
Yeah,
Something may come. I don't want to give up on every generation of movie.
No, I know. I hope there's other people out there like we are thinking, what can I do that's different?
I'm sure there
and
are.
There have been, hit or miss, some of them.
Right now we're living in like a not quite like the studio era of the 30s, but we are kind of in a period right now where if you don't have an already existing name, or everything's got to be connected to something else. It's got to be a multiverse. It's got to be a sequel. It's got to be a remake.
Yeah.
They're doing a remake of The Running Man this year. I know. Yeah, sorry.
Another Stephen King short story.
Oh yeah. But it may be okay because
it might be. But
there are some remakes that are good,
and a lot of people haven't seen it. I'm assuming because I didn't think it was that big of a hit, and it was.
I think I saw it.
Based on a short story.
But my dad was obsessed with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So,
oh, was he?
Yeah. So that's why I saw it.
Well, I loved Stephen King at the time too, so I saw it. And it's pretty true to the short story.
I like it actually.
Yeah.
And I don't want to throw out and say every remake is inherently bad because there have been plenty that I liked. That's sequels, same thing. Jaws.
And even movies based on books. Some books are great, and sometimes you'll be more likely to find something new in literature than in film.
Mm-hmm. Jaws was based on a book. Jaws also invented the sequelitis.
Yeah, oh yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah.
So we have them to thank for some of the not so good stuff too.
Right. True.
But I know we've gone semi off topic, but basically, this whole project is we just love movies.
Yeah.
Jaws is one of the movies that we love. I like to see more things like it, and I'd like to see new stuff like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would love that. Like I said, I've seen every shark movie. So I'm really, I can't even think of the titles anymore.
Sharknado.
Yeah. Well, not even that. That to me is just like kind of a joke thing. But other movies that are attempting to be serious shark films, and either the sharks look so fake or just don't care about the characters. It doesn't have that charm. I don't know. It's just, and I keep hoping to find the next Jaws. Every summer, that's my goal. And there's always shark movies out in the summer, and sometimes they're just like direct to cable releases or whatever. But good luck finding them. They have sometimes the sharks look great, but you know that they're fake. There was a film, just to mention real quickly, 1969, Burt Reynolds film called Shark. So I've also seen it released under the title Man-Eater with an exclamation point.
Oh, good.
Really drive that home. But his character, early Burt Reynolds, he's very charming. He's what was his name? Not Quint, but something like Quint.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Anyway, he's just kind of a loser, but he gets involved with looking for sunken treasure. And the area is filled with sharks. So the reason I mentioned this was that the sharks in that film, not only did they look real, they were real. And one of the stuntmen actually was killed by a shark in that film, and they left it in the film.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, because at the time there was no law against that.
Wild West.
That film kind of created that. So if you watch that film, and you can find it on DVD. Although I have two copies of it. One's on VHS, and that has the shark attack in it, and it also has a great line where it's just it's removed for some reason from the DVD, and I don't know why, but you see the blood coming out of a guy and the shark just like almost wagging its tail because it's like in a frenzy, like a feeding. It's horrifying.
That's messed up.
Especially when I read later that was a real death.
That's messed up.
Yeah. So that was 1969. So the thing is, you're never going to see a film like that again because you'll never. Not only do they not use real sharks, everything's animatronics or whatever, or just special effects. I would love to see a film where the shark looks that real. Maybe not, a real person dying, obviously.
Well, obviously not.
Yeah.
I think that animals are hard to do, especially animals that we know how they move.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the next Jaws is going to be a shark movie. I think the next Jaws is probably going to be something else.
Yeah. I wonder what.
I don't know.
It's got to be something that most people
are afraid of.
Are afraid of, have a fear of. Yeah, almost an innate fear.
Sharks are scary because at the time, especially because we didn't know a lot about them, and we talked about the book.
Yeah.
The book was written by a guy who confessed he didn't know anything about sharks.
Right.
And he even said afterward that he would never have written it if he knew how.
If he had known the backlash, basically, that they'd face.
Yeah. But we are increasing in our knowledge of what animals are a thing now. I think now you have more likelihood of a successful snake movie.
I was just thinking snakes too. I swear, but we also had Anaconda.
Well, that was not good.
No, it wasn't good. But yeah, I don't know how you would do a successful snake film other than someone being just bitten by snakes, not a huge anaconda, but just snake bites, in a home maybe or something. I don't know.
It might be done with natural horror as a genre.
It might be because I think more people are not only sympathetic to, maybe rightly so, but I think more and more we know more about animals and they're less scary once you know them.
Correct.
Yeah.
humans, I think now too, we're in an era where humans like natural predator are other humans. I
Right.
think that we're more likely to be afraid of each other than we are something
And that, of
else.
course, also works. Obviously, tons of films.
Yeah,
you know,
we have a
about-
lot of slashers to thank.
Right. Yeah.
But I think Jaws, like the mantle was passed, honestly, by like to Alien, to like films like the sci-fi, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that where the unknown becomes something that we make up
Right.
instead of something that
Right.
we know we can know
Right.
more about.
Yeah. Because the more you know, the less afraid you'll be.
Yeah.
So things you don't know, like the aliens, xenomorphs, whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was great.
That was good.
We'll have to do that one night.
We should do that one of these.
Yeah.
There's a lot. We have a lot of ground to
Alien
cover.
and Aliens, because a lot of people like Aliens better. Now,
I
you
do.
talk about sequels. Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
I remember reading a review at the time when it came out, and it was a great review because it said, bad part of the movie, first hour or whatever, no aliens. Great part of the film, last hour, nothing but aliens. I thought that summed it all up, because really, and I love the first hour because it's really building again
Yeah.
characters. You get to know them all,
Mhm.
And they find Newt, which is great.
Mhm.
But the second half is when it really takes off.
There's
you know?
not a scene in that movie I don't like.
No, yeah.
I don't want to. I don't look at my watch at all.
No, another great film. Yeah, that was the first movie I saw with my wife.
Oh really?
'86. Yeah.
That was a good choice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
In 1986, there's not a whole lot that I think would have been a really good first date movie.
No, yeah. It worked. Obviously, both together all these years later. Yeah.
We can attribute that.
I don't know
to
if she credits that film, but yeah.
I will. I'll credit it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's funny.
But I think, like, obviously we got more to talk about in the months ahead. A lot of Spielberg's work and a lot of films like Jaws and a lot of different stuff. So we might come back to this at some point. I know I'd like to do like a top 10 of like 1975 year one of these days.
Oh,
I think that'd be
great,
fun to look at.
Yeah.
Until then, we'll put Jaws back on the shelf.
Yeah.
And I'll watch it
Yeah.
again in a month or two, probably.
Yeah. Probably, yeah, before the summer ends. Got to get another viewing in.
I've already seen it twice this
This
year.
year?
This
Oh,
year.
really?
Yeah, so maybe another couple of months. Back to the Future is the only movie I can watch back to back to back.
That's funny. Well, we'll have to do that also.
But all right.
Yeah, one other thing I just wanted to mention real
Go
quick
for it.
too is I took down one of my favorite scenes. Everyone who's seen the film knows this, but I just love the line, so I wrote it down verbatim. It's when he sees Hooper with the shark cage, and I forget what he says first, but he said he thinks it's something else, and then he says, "Wait, so you go inside the cage? Cage goes in the water. You go in the water. Shark's in the water. Our shark." And then he starts to sing, farewell and adieu to our fair Spanish ladies. Just such a great scene. Again, just adds a little bit of humor. Like everyone relates to it, and he walks away laughing, some hysterical laugh.
It's great.
But it is a great scene because, you think that cage is going to help. But of course, at that point, Hooper thought for sure. And then we see later, with that real footage even, again, that you mentioned, that cage is not keeping away that shark.
I don't even think that shark is as big as some sharks that have been recorded.
Oh, yeah.
There have been some bigger ones.
Well, they made a point of saying, because Quinn can't agree with Hooper, when Hooper sees it from the bow, he says, it's a 20-footer. And right away, Quinn says, 25.
Yeah.
3 tons of her, or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, maybe it's bigger. I don't know.
I think Dad said they've clocked one or two around 30 feet.
Yeah, imagine that. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And I
And
mean,
it is just a killing machine.
they are. I wouldn't want to run into one. Even though I'm not, like, afraid of them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever want to run into one.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to ever lay that upside down on its back and rub its belly and put it to sleep.
I don't think, no.
I don't think
Some
you'll do
sharks, like, some things just are better off in the water while I'm on land.
Yep. That's funny.
I'm going to sign us off with, that's some bad hat, Harry.
There you go. Yep, perfect. Yep.
It's a good one, but thanks guys so much for listening. Like if you like what you're listening to, go ahead and follow along. We're gonna be looking at a lot of different stuff with a ton of different, like a lot of variety. It's nice that we have so much freedom with this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you like it, you can even leave a comment. Go ahead and hit like, and we'll see ya or we'll hear ya.
Or maybe a movie they would like to hear.
Yeah, let us know
sort
what
of
we want to hear.
dissect it, Yeah.
And we'll hear you next time.